Hey guys, and welcome to my project. I decided to explore the planets of belief, specifically my family unit's planets of belief. First, I explained to each family member that your personal planet of belief is made up of your own personal values and beliefs. And then I kind of let them roll with the format. I didn't want them to create it based on any sort of model, so I gave them a bunch of different variations and examples of how it could be drawn and how you can look at it. But I told them to choose based on how they felt it should be. After they understood and submitted everything, I began to explore the similarities and differences within each of our planets, as specifically my parents' differences and similarities, and then my siblings and how we had similars and differences between my parents as well. So this was my dad's. He got really into it. As you can see, he chose the bubble model where it's all the bubbles connecting kind of into one planet. What my dad actually did is he got really into it and created his own keynote presentation for his planets of belief and sent that to me. So it was really fun to see him like get very into it. As you can see as we go through his explanations. So he talks a lot about relationships and how that's kind of his core. And he talked about, ethics. He holds solid relationships, again, is an honor and integrity. Um, and it's interesting to see that all of his values are very reflective into his character and how he treats people and how he handles everything. Um, I got a lot of these things from him, but that's the whole point is we're going to dive into that. He's had a desire to seek and understand the unknown in his life. He's always inquisitive, and that really reflected in how he came about understanding this project. Was, he wanted to know what is it and why and how and all this, and he got really into it. Thankfulness and courage. So then we get to my mom's, and they shared some similar ones too, but we're going to get to that. So she kind of chose the circle one too. I thought it was really cool that my mom drew hers out and kind of color coordinated it, and then also used some sort of model to make, them all very basically the same size circles. And she also color coordinated her explanations as she came into this, which was really cool and interesting. They went with it. I had to change a few of the colors so that we would be able to read them. She believes in God and redeeming love. She's confident that family is one of the things that makes her most happy, and contributes. Humor, compassion. She's tough. Gratitude, loyal, trusting, friendship, exercise, learner. They got really into it. So this was the first different approach that I found really interesting. Was my oldest brother's. He kind of chose to make his layers, but I also found it interesting if we look right here. If we look right here in this specific area, we get to see that this kind of overlaps. And I don't know, he said he meant to do it like that, so it's just interesting that his analytical world overview really overlaps with having a mind that seeks out information. So he is very open-minded, and I think that's very awesome. And I think it's very interesting that he did it in this way at, the core of what else lies. He wanted to make sure these are the three cores, and then these lie within that, and some of them connect. So his biggest is the thirst for knowledge is his biggest value. His second is faith, from growing up and involved in church. We all kind of grew up that way, so it's interesting to see how some brothers have panned out differently. Some of us are different, but we're going to dive into that. And then his third is mental health. It's always been something that's crept up and impacted him quickly. And then just focusing on that, as that's become a new planet for him. My third brother, or my second brother, Daniel, he did his kind of like, I guess, a molecule, and it was really interesting. He's one of our most artistic siblings in this, and he took this interesting approach. He said, they all do connect in one way, and they all do connect back to life, but they connect differently. So he took it a lot into consideration as well. But his explanations are very right to the point. Um, he talks about life experiencing, learning, loving. He really wants to, share as much as he can. Love, heartwave energy that connects all living things. Truth, facts of reality in the world we live in. Knowledge is potential energy, but needing to be discerned to find the truth. Connects back with truth. He's really into that. Action, enacted power, research, self love, and sharing. His was right to the point. My youngest brother, and the one closest in age to me, decided to make his a river. And he did say that, he created these as what's in the middle are stones that are not necessarily permanent, but they're solid and long lasting. And his explanations, he is very cynical. So I made sure to include that he wrote that one. He's cynical. That was one of his. And he said, he's had so much bad. He's seen so much of it for it to not benefit anyone. His humor, education, outdoors, effects of doing things, wit, good character, hardworking, and growth. And so then we get to mine, which you guys have already seen. And for mine, I just want to point out, strength and faithful, overcoming obstacles, open-mindedness. Sorry. And so mine, which you can scroll back and see if you would like to, diabetes maintenance, which is interesting that I added it and none of my siblings did. But the first thing that I found interesting is that we all did, like I mentioned before, we all did very different models and formats. So I know that these three are kind of similar, but my dad created this whole ordeal. My mom was very precise about it, and I just kind of drew it into place. And what was very interesting to me was my parents. They both if you knew them, you would understand that this works very well, and it's very funny to look at these things. You can definitely tell that they're both very empathetic people, much more my mom than my dad. I did find it interesting. My dad put marriage here, and my mom didn't, although she did put family. They both did, but I guess it is kind of different. Not that I think my mom doesn't like my dad or anything, but one key difference that I noticed was my mom is a very trusting person. She likes to see the best in people, and my dad is more skeptical. That's definitely true. They both added relationships and friends and faith as well, and I think Christianity kind of ties into that. I think a lot of their similarities and differences really either highlight or, live off of each other and feed off of each other. And I think that some of these kind of like creative and perfectionist is, kind of motivated to get it done the way that you want, and kind of problem solving to get it done the way that that she feels necessary. And then I want to pull up my bigger charts because overall the whole family, I kind of created this ordeal. It's not super detailed because I know this has to be a short presentation, but mind-seeking knowledge, I want to point out some that we share with our parents. The mind-seeking knowledge and the inquisitive. I would also say that Daniel's sense of action really goes with motivated. You have to take action. My mom's learner is passion for reading and the thirst for knowledge and education as well. Humor is something that both my mom and my youngest brother, who is also the most cynical, share. Research and discernment, I would say that really kind of ties in with my dad's skepticism. I think that, that's kind of interesting to see that his skepticism kind of made us more likely to be a little scorned and do some more research and finding truth, as this is right here. And then some just of our own shares as siblings. We all are hardworking and have intent and potential and, mental health in ours. So I think overcomings and intention and hard work are all something that we share as siblings. I definitely think something that we didn't all do is diabetes management as a core thing in my life, which Michael and Daniel, out of my three brothers, both have diabetes. So for them to just kind of see it as another day-to-day life, whereas I'm kind of taking it on a little more heavily, is interesting as well. I really enjoyed this project, and it was a lot of fun.